We're live. Go for it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Land Down Under's Hangout. This week we are talking about N.K. Jensen's The Stone Sky, which is book 3 in this series. I'm going to start off by giving my quick overview, which I enjoyed it mostly, except for all the throwback chapters I didn't see the point of, and then the last 3 chapters I'm like, I don't even know what happened. No. So, I felt like I got an ending. I just don't know what ending I got. But Karina, do you want to? Thanks. Since you're sitting right beside me.
Yeah, pretty much the same. The throwback chapters, while I wanted to appreciate what was going on, I just found it too difficult to figure out which of the Stone Eaters were which of those characters, and it didn't really make a difference anyway. Finding out who Steele was originally has no bearing on the plot whatsoever. And just we already knew that they're the reason the moon got thrown away in the first place. You really need to see that. It's just sort of felt like filler. So I listened to the audiobook. So every time those chapters came on, I sort of tuned out, which is probably why I have no idea what happened. And then with the ending, I reread it. I reread the penultimate chapter about an hour ago because I said to Naomi, I don't know what happened. And she went, oh, I was confused too. I was like, maybe if I reread it, having listened to it, I'll understand a little bit more what actually happened. Nope. I have no fucking idea what happened. None whatsoever. I am so confused. I don't know.
They only
I get the ending. I just don't know how we got there at all. I'm very, very confused. So it's a bit of a disappointing end to the series to me.
G, would you like to go next?
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of liked the throwback stuff because I liked the history of how the world ended up being so destroyed in the first place. And I really liked the idea of humanity becoming so, and we're going to call them humanity, I don't know who's who or anything, but I put them in the place of humanity becoming so overpowered and so sure of themselves being almighty that they just destroyed everything. And I really liked that. And there were a few bits in there that was colonial structuring of races and how they would put down the magic users. I can't remember their names at all. They ended up being the Stone Eaters. But how they eradicated and the explanation of genocide and things like that, how they turned them from being people and human to a tool, it said. And that explanation, I really dug that. But I can see how it wouldn't be for other people. But now that I think about it, a lot of sci-fi and fantasy is that is what it is. There's a struggle between races and there's a power struggle going on that reflects life now. And I pulled that from those pieces. So that was kind of cool, I thought. But yeah, I don't know what happened in the end either. I'm struggling to remember.
Someone has to be able to explain it to us.
I
Matt,
didn't get confused.
I've got my money on you, Matt. You're going to have to give us
their questions. That's fine.
The Cliff's Notes version of the ending.
Next then and explain what happened for us.
Except Jazz hasn't finished it.
Oh.
That's all right.
Oh,
I think, but yeah, it sounds like I'm not going to understand the ending anyway, so.
Mel, if you feel up to it, would you like to go next?
Sure. I was kind of in G's basket in that I quite enjoyed the back stuff. I agree with Karina that it didn't have a lot of point. It wasn't giving us much that we really needed, but I kind of enjoyed it. Because
I didn't dislike it. It was just so inconsequential in the end that it just felt like filler.
my problem was is that I wasn't actually enjoying what was going on with Asun and Nasun. I was just like, I don't care. Could you just get to the freaking end of the story? Yes, you're traveling through lots of ash. Got it.
Ash. Oh, God. More ash.
I just sort of felt like that bit was not really adding much to the story when I was just waiting to get to find out what was going to happen at the end. So for me, I was enjoying those flashbacks more because at least something was happening in those where you were getting something new and interesting. So for me, that's how that sort of helped, because that I was looking forward to those chapters, whereas the other chapters I was just like, yep, okay, I'm so glad I'm doing this in audiobook so that I don't have to listen to every single word. So yeah, that was sort of where I felt about that. I still enjoyed it. I'm not sure what everybody's confused about with the ending though. So I'm sort of like, did I miss something to be confused about, or did I just get it? And
Maybe I'm overcomplicating it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am overcomplicating it. Just as a side note, I didn't hate the throwback stuff. It was more just that they didn't give me anything for any of those characters to really latch on to. Like, it felt like they threw those characters in as, like, characters that you should care about, but didn't actually give me anything to care about. Like, if I could tell from the start of the flashbacks, that character ends up being Power, and that character is Steel, and that character is Antimony. Like,
oh, I know why it didn't work for you guys. I was in audio. In audio, they say it like it's very clear that Hoa is Hoa.
I listened to the audiobook. I knew that Hoa was Hoa, but I had no idea who anybody else was.
Oh, I didn't know anybody else, but I knew Hoa, and I cared about Hoa enough that I cared.
I cared about Hoa. It's just everything else, like, we already knew what happened to Hoa, so I didn't particularly feel like I needed to know any of it.
Reading the book, you obviously don't get that, so I didn't know who was who until the very end. So I was like, why do I care about these characters? I don't know who they are. Like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, pulling us off track. Matt, would you like to go next?
Sure. So this was probably my least favorite of the three. I gave the other ones 5 stars because I really, really loved them. This one I would only give 4 to, which I haven't done my Goodreads thing yet, but I will. I was initially thinking to myself, I really wish there was like another 100 pages to this book to flesh out the Essen and Nasser and that world story there. But then I thought, well, maybe if they'd taken out the backstory, I wouldn't have needed the extra 100 pages. And if that was all, anyway. So I quite liked the backstory stuff. I found that was all. I didn't see it as anything about characters at all. It was world building and sort of like the history of how the world got to the point that it is now. So I wasn't particularly caring about the characters there, whereas I did care about the characters in the like the present. But I almost think that they could possibly have taken that out. The author, N.K. Jemisin, she could have taken that out and maybe even made like a prequel book or something like that. Might have been an interesting way to approach that.
Certainly enough content.
Yeah.
And I think that probably would have worked better because I could have chosen to read that and I would have accepted that I was reading that, but I was being forced to read it as part of the plot.
Yeah.
Or listen to it.
So I still really enjoyed it because I'm all about world building and I love finding out that sort of history of things and how things got to where they were. And so many analogies in this book for different things going on in the world or that have happened in the world. It was crazy. But I kind of felt that I didn't get confused by the ending, but I really felt like it was rushed. That it sort of concluded a lot faster than I was expecting it to, and I wanted more. Like I wanted them to kind of have a D&M like before the end, but they didn't really get that. It was just sort of like, okay, and it's all over, and they didn't get to have that. Yeah, so it kind of felt like it was a bit rushed at the end, but I still really enjoyed it. I just didn't like it quite as much as the other two.
Chrissy, would you like to go next? I mean, Jasmine, I'm so sorry. I've been looking at Chrissy's Facebook because I've been looking at her wedding photos, and I'm like,
Oh, I was doing that too. I always stalk people's wedding photos.
well, I'm just looking at her wedding photos because they're at the top of my Facebook. I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. And then I'm like, Chrissy, would you like to go next? Brain fart.
Oh, good.
Jasmine, would you like to go next? I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
You don't look anything alike. It's more just I was looking at her wedding.
No, you're all right. That's cool. All right.
When you listen to a word while you're writing and you end up writing what you hear.
I'm gonna have a quick drink though.
Sorry, Jess.
Well, I'm still reading it, and I get what you guys are saying about. I don't know. Like, all of a sudden, I'm reading about new characters, and I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? And I'm trying to learn about their backstory, and I'm like, so far, I'm gathering that these kind of, I guess they are the Stone Eaters, but they're, how do you pronounce their name? That they're descended from?
Then I assume it was Nice.
Renoir.
Niece? Oh. I
The
have no idea.
niece
There's a
or
lot
the
of words I
Nixon?
can't pronounce in this book. So I just skim. But, so, is that Holla and Antimony?
Yeah.
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 Okay, I figured that.
Before they became, yeah.
Yeah, so they're descendants of them. That's just, yeah, I feel that could have been another book. I love law, I love history of things, but don't cram it into the one. You know, like, I don't know, I just felt like, yeah, a bit too much jumping from different, like I'm trying to follow Nasun and Shafa.
Yep. Shaffer.
Yeah, Shaffer.
And I kind of really love that he's got like a redemption thing going on. He's trying to like look after her, and you know, like maybe because of all the terrible things he's done.
Yeah.
I'm loving Eswin's story as well. I feel for the poor lady. Like, God, she's gone through so much. I'm hoping there's a good ending. I asked Jean, like, it ends.
It ends.
She didn't give me anything. So I'm just like, well, I haven't gotten anything from any of you. So I'm going to continue to read.
We'll get to that when we talk about.
I just really love how in-depth it is.
I'm sure we'll get to that when we all discuss the ending anyway. So.
Oh, I can't wait. Let's bring it on. But so far, not my favourite of the books, but I still really enjoy it. She can write. She's a brilliant writer. She gets so detailed with, you know, the strata, the atmosphere. Like, she's done some research. Like, I really respect that. You know, done her background checks. So, that's it.
Did anyone read the acknowledgements at the end?
No
because I
audio.
listened to an audiobook.
I think I did too.
There's a whole bunch of stuff at the end. I did not make it.
Yeah, and it
Acknowledgements.
really changes your understanding of why she's writing what she's writing. Short version is her mum died while she was writing the book,
Oh.
and so she was in hospice care, and like she made that change from working in I think she was working in hospice, and then she switched to becoming a full-time writer. But her mum was really, really sick as well, and it sounds like they didn't necessarily have the greatest relationship at the time. But yeah, she kind of says like, whatever you're getting out of the book is what I was feeling at the time I was writing it. So
Well, there's certainly a lot of emotion.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
Kirsten, would you like to go next?
Yeah, why not? I'm actually really relieved to hear other people say they got confused, because I was like, not even just that it was confusing. It was more like I had to really work to understand what was going on in a lot of it, and I like, because I was reading before bed and I was often quite tired. Like, it was like it was draining, and then I wouldn't be able to read. Like, it took me ages to read because I felt like I was concentrating really hard.
Sorry.
Everything okay?
Yes.
Just spill your drink.
There's a spider on my laptop. I'm just going to get one.
Oh no.
Burn it.
Burn it with fire.
Anyway.
That laptop said to you.
Laptop.
Yeah, so I felt like I had to really concentrate, and then because I was reading when I was tired, and I was like, it was really, I found it a bit of a struggle for that reason. And I think the chapters with Esun and Shafa were the parts that I was able to sort of fly through, and the parts that were the flashback were the parts that I really felt. I think because it was almost like it was another whole world that was there, like another social system and another people, and I was trying to take all that stuff in, that it was, I was having to really concentrate, and then that was making it hard to read when I was reading it. So I'm kind of relieved, because I'm reading it and thinking, everybody else is loving this and I'm just too dumb for this book. So now I feel a bit better.
No, I'm too dumb for this book.
But yeah, there was parts of it that I enjoyed more than the other parts, and I did read it a while ago, because I knew that even with the earlier books, I still found the same thing, that not to as much as an extent with this one, but that it wasn't a book that I could just read really easily, you know, without having to concentrate, kind of thing. And so I knew it would take me a little bit of time, so I gave myself heaps of time to get it read. And so I finished it quite a while ago, probably about a month ago, and now I'm like struggling to remember details. But I did enjoy it. I rated it 4 stars. I rated it just after I finished reading it, and I rated it 4 stars. So I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but I did find that parts of it were like I had to work to understand what was going on, if that makes sense.
I found it interesting too. Like, a lot of the people online that I follow and stuff were saying this one was the best yet and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, nah, it was fine. Everything finished. It got wrapped up, but I wouldn't call it better than the first two.
No, I did not. I enjoyed it, but I would say this was my least favorite of the 3.
Exactly.
I don't know. Oh, sorry.
No, you're right. Go.
I just feel like, they had some really big, endings and climaxes. I'm not at the ending yet, but I feel like you guys don't know what happened. So there's not going to be something that's, wow, like, how she brings up the boil bugs, or, Alabaster was just so crisp. I loved their relationship. I thought it was so raw and real. Just everyone else she tries to have a relationship with, made up to the hype, I suppose, like, I don't know.
We're going to have to...
That she made up with... Oh, sorry?
We're going to have to talk about the learner situation.
Yeah. Like, I kind of wanted her to go gay. Yep.
I would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, I was like, we'll go with Yuka. Yeah, I like her. I think she's good.
Yeah, I felt like
Hoa, when he was eating her breast, going, hey.
No.
I felt like they shoehorned in her relationship with Lena so she'd get pregnant again, so we feel bad about her being a stone eater.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, she's lost so many kids. It's like,
so she became a stone eater while she was pregnant, or the baby had died because she had died? Like, because the same thing happened to Kalani.
Oh, there's your spoiler, by the way.
Sorry,
okay.
Jasmine said she didn't care.
Exactly why I said stuff like
But, like, the same thing happened to Kalani, right? Like, she was pregnant, right? That was the vibe they were giving. Like, they didn't say it outright she was pregnant, but that's what they were, like,
oh, no, they definitely
implying.
Heavily implied it.
Yeah.
My feeling was that the baby probably just would have been metamorphosed into the rest of her, like when she became a stone eater.
But Kalemli
it seemed to me that had her child.
Kalemli didn't become a stone eater. Kalemli was the progenitor for the rest of Origins.
Hoa would have eaten the stone baby and then regurgitated.
No, reproduce. It's a fresh poop baby.
We had this discussion, didn't we, Chaz?
I was like, wait, what? I love the idea, but I was just a little confused. Anyway, back to you.
So the thing I'm sort of a bit confused about is Nassun is trying to like open the obelisk gate to destroy the world, right?
To turn everyone else into stone eaters
Yeah.
to save Chopper.
Yeah. And then Essen is trying to just stop her, or is she just trying to catch the moon that will stop her? Or, like, I don't understand exactly what she's trying to do.
Just trying to catch the moon.
Work together, maybe?
Nassoon wanted to pull the moon into the earth to destroy the earth, to actually, like, original intention.
To wipe out
Original
the-
intention was to pull the moon into the earth and literally explode the earth.
Yeah,
Everything.
that's got it. I just wasn't sure what
Essen's
Essen was trying to do at the end. Like, I know her
Stabilize
original
the
plan
planet.
was catch the moon, but then she was talking about trying to save her daughter, and I don't know if that meant she was trying to catch the moon to save her daughter, or, like,
No,
I don't
no.
know what she
She
was
wanted-
trying to do.
yeah.
She was trying to prevent her from getting the power she needed
To
initially.
destroy, yeah.
Yeah,
Stoning herself.
everyone to stone it. So she was just basically trying to stop her from getting the power first off. She didn't have any direct intention of what she was going to do because she didn't know what to do to stop it, and she didn't even know what she was planning to do at first either. So as soon as
Wait, is this Essen or Nassun?
Nassoon, Essoon.
Oh, yeah.
Nassoon knew what she
Essoon.
wanted to do. Nassoon was trying to network them all together. What
Burn it all.
Essoon didn't know what Nassoon was planning, but she knew she needed to stop her. So she went straight for the obelisk gate to circumvent her getting the direct power that she needed. They basically made each other null and void because they both had too much power, and so it became down to a essential struggle of will between the two of them. And once Essoon recognized that that was the case, and she knew she was going to kill her own daughter in the process because she saw her hand turning to stone, he gave up.
Like, gave up. Yeah.
Yeah, but then who caught the moon? Was it Essen
Nassoon
catching the moon?
Nassoon.
Like,
Yeah,
okay,
she
that was
decided-
what I couldn't, like, that's what I didn't get. I'm like, it didn't really say who caught the moon, and I wasn't sure if it
No,
was
when,
that.
when she chose to save the world, that was it. That was saving
It
the
shocked
world.
her out.
By putting the moon back and sort of essentially saying, okay, everyone,
had that-
we're gonna try
She
doing it again and
recognized
hopefully.
when her mum
When she was going
sacrificed
in.
herself and she realized that what she'd lost was the last person who cared about her other than Shafa, she saw what Essoon was trying to do because it was written into the black obelisk. So once her mum had died, she had access to the black obelisk and she could see essentially what she was planning to do in terms of to catch the moon.
The plan.
So the black obelisk said to her, "Do you want to execute this?" And she said yes.
Okay. But then why didn't she get
I
turned
will
into stone
execute my
too?
mum's
Like,
dying wish.
Because
surely if that's what Essen was afraid of, that Essen was going to get turned into stone, why did that not happen? Like, surely, like, that was even extra power on top of what she was already getting when she was turning into stone.
what I felt like that most of the way through, though, because the weird thing about Nassoon's situation is that all along she should have been, because she'd been accessing the magic, she called it the silver, and so she should have been changing because of that. But I think what the difference is how she uses it, because she uses the magic and the silver together like the originals did.
Like that
Yes,
she
it doesn't have the same effect.
She did say something along those lines at some point that she was, and then she was doing something differently.
But she's got more of a natural ability where her mum was Fulcrum trained, so she could really fully adapt. Same with Alabaster, like he had all the power, but they were both Fulcrum trained. And
Doesn't
where
it have
she's
something to do with taking control of the gate as well? Because when Alabaster took control of the gate is when he started to turn to stone. When Essun took it, she started to turn to stone, and then Nassun took it, and she started to turn to stone. Was it the power of the gate?
yeah, true.
No. She started turning to stone before she took the gate because Essoon was still alive then.
But why?
I don't know.
Nassoon
Why
started
not
turning to stone.
Yeah, her hand turned to stone.
I
How about
didn't
we
get
just
that
tweet
at all. I have no
MK
idea
and be
what
like, yo, what happened? What happened?
Guys,
That's
I'm
news to me.
willing to submit that this one's a plot hole.
I didn't even realize that Nassoon had started turning to stone.
Right near the end, it says something about there being a
A
I
hand,
have read that part.
a hand next to the
hand beside her mother at the end.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
lost her hand.
like a smaller version of the hand that she was missing.
Yeah.
That's all
I
she.
was under the impression Eston was, a natural. Far better than all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I may have just blocked it out because it was so close to the end that I was like, I don't even fucking care anymore.
You and your daughter not even noticing your fingers have turned to stone. You should do it.
I really think, guys, that the only reason she started to turn to stone was basically a plot point so that Ace would give up and go, oh my God, I can't do this to my
No,
daughter.
is that not?
I watched you snarl and smash apart the wall between you and your daughter, not even noticing that your fingers have turned to stone as you do it. Her other hand.
Oh, okay. Then where does it say that Nathan changed hand?
He does. It does say it.
Yeah, see, I have no idea. I can't remember.
See, I can't go find it because it was audiobook.
How was the audio? Was it good?
Oh, really good. I always love Kate reading. She's awesome.
Oh.
I found that she spoke too slowly. Like, I warmed up to her, but I found that she spoke too slowly initially, but she spoke too quickly on certain words for me to speed it up.
So I had it set on 1.25 speed, and I was fine. But I've listened to her a lot. So not only have I listened to this entire trilogy, but I've listened to her on at least 2 other books.
I turned her up to 1.2 and immediately was like missing half sentences, and I was like, no, I have no idea what's going on back there.
I started paying attention after you told me that, and I really wasn't missing anything. So either because I'm familiar with her or the speed just didn't bother me. I'm not sure which.
So I have no keys on my
okay.
laptop, so I can't even press button right now. I told you this, didn't I, Mel?
Oh, I do
Here's the
remember
bit.
that.
It's where she goes, she screams,
Yeah,
clutches her
we
head
found
in
it.
her hands. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I know it's in that like second last chapter somewhere.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember it. I also finished it a week ago, and I had a lot going on, so I'm sort of like, I don't like, because I didn't understand it. I think my brain just went, good enough.
Yeah, I think that was what my brain did too.
I'll probably finish it tonight. I've only got, 20% left? Not even? 15%? Did you say 8%?
Yeah, I think that's what G said. You're muted, G.
Yeah, my dog's barking.
Oh, okay. No, that's right. I could see you replying. I'm like, she can't.
Yeah, 80% or something. 82 maybe.
But yeah, I feel like they could have fleshed out that last bit with Nassun and Essen at the obelisk gate and that sort of thing a bit more, and then taken out those like throwback bits and made that a whole nother book.
I think she just doesn't write fast-paced action as well as she writes other things. Because I felt the same thing with the fight at the end of the second book as well. Like, I knew what had happened, but it still felt very chaotic, and I still wasn't 100% sure of how we've gotten there. And I think she just isn't as good with chaotic action as the rest of the book is.
Yeah, I would agree with that because, like, you think about someone like Brandon Sanderson, when you read it, you feel like you understand all of the action points going on.
Visualize it really clearly.
Yeah. I don't feel like she's
I feel like because she's trying to weave in the science of how it's all working and everything, it just complicates it.
Possibly so. I think for me, I felt a little bit let down about the whole. I've wanted more resolution between Asun and Asun. I think though that's possibly like what Matt was saying with the acknowledgements, part of her relationship with her mother. If this is really her sort of dwelling on that aspect, and she never got to a good place with her mother, then that would explain her choices there. Maybe it's just at the same time I still like, God, I wanted more there.
Yeah.
I've just felt like Nassun had grown up so much in other ways, and she was still acting very childlike with the situation with her mother. Yeah. Like,
even just the situation with Sharper, like, oh no, my father figure's going to die, so I'm going to destroy the entire planet for it.
Yes.
Like, I know you're 10 years old, but really?
Wasn't she like older than that by then?
I thought she was
like she was older. I really thought she was older.
No, she's like 10 or 11 at the end.
At the end, they say she's almost 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all discounting the aspect of Father Earth as well, though.
Yeah.
So the reason Nasun wants to destroy the world is because Father Earth is there, and so she's pissed at him. He started all this.
Yeah.
She understands that. She seems to be the only one who does besides Shaka. And so to destroy the world is to destroy Father Earth.
And
I think that.
But she came to that epiphany when she was going past the call that he's pissed because they've all stolen a piece of him.
I think
They
she knew
tapped
he
into
was
the
there the
Father
whole
Earth.
time.
she got set on this path by Steele, you've got to remember too. She's a very young child who's been manipulated and not told that there's another option.
Yeah.
What concerns
They've all been manipulated.
well, they have. But what concerns me is that when the mother and daughter get together is that there's no sort of like, hey, let's discuss what we're going to do.
But you got to think about what their relationship was like.
I know.
She was very
Moon was
cold
on the
towards
way.
her, and
I didn't
she didn't.
expect it to be amicable. I just wanted,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Chat.
Something.
Just have
I
a chat.
kind of, yeah.
And a cup of tea.
I'm reading it now, and this is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
And I haven't finished the book.
Sorry.
So I'm hoping
You get
for
none
that.
of that.
I'm hoping
Sorry,
that we'll
Desmond.
have a meter.
There's none of that.
But I also knew that it wasn't going to really happen, I suppose. So, yeah, I don't know.
The problem
Can I
is,
sit on the fence like that?
I think that there's all the signs are there that they're both of them are the kind of personality that don't really listen very well.
Starving bitches.
It's good. It's just very small.
Yeah. So I know it's
think
me asking for something that I want rather than what's necessarily presented to me as an option in the book.
I think there's also this element of this idea that children don't really ever understand how much their parents love them.
Yes.
Because, like,
Maybe when they
and-
become parents. If they become
Yeah.
parents.
Hey, I'm not a parent and I understand still.
I mean,
Well,
I
you're
understand
past
that. I understand that she was very she was manipulated by Steele, but Shaffa didn't seem to try and dissuade her from what was going on either. He didn't seem to be giving her she's like, oh, he's this perfect father figure, but he wasn't really telling her anything either. I know he couldn't tell her a lot because Father Earth was giving him so much pain, but I felt like he was very he wasn't helping the situation.
I felt like
he was being quite selfish, I think. He just
I
wanted
felt like Ben Jemison didn't know what to do with Shaffa. He served a purpose in the second book to protect Nasun from Jija. But in this book, I felt like he didn't really serve any purpose anymore other than a place to hold Nasun's feelings of needing somebody to protect her. I didn't feel like he did anything in this book at all.
he didn't for a lot of it.
Well, apart from when he actually went under, but even that wasn't that much of the book. I mean, it would have been, about a quarter of the book that he was gone.
I think she needed a catalyst for Nasun to make her choice to destroy everything.
That's a possibility.
Yeah,
I just...
she was going to core point. And at the beginning, it's well, why are you even going? She had talked to Steele about destroying the Earth, but she was never going to destroy the Earth while Shaffa was still there. That was never going to happen. Which is partly why I think Steele let her take Shaffa, because he knew what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would explain it. I mean, it certainly fits in with the level of manipulation that they show them to be capable of.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole story
Does
just...
Hella eat Esson?
Hmm?
We want to know. Does Hella eat Esson? And do we see Alabaster again?
No.
Alabaster.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
None of the
wish
things
that
you
was
want to
probably my
happen,
biggest
Jazz.
That was probably my biggest disappointment. Why give us this glimpse of Alabaster at the end of the second book and then not follow through on it?
That's all I've been thinking about. I thought that they would bring him in on a different level.
There
because
there is
they
a
did talk-
mention of well, it's not a promise of yes, you will be together eventually one day, but it's hey, it takes so long for his personality to build, and maybe eventually one day you'll be able to see each other again, but you're not going to be the same people again.
Yeah.
Although it sounded like she actually seemed to come out of it being almost the same as who she was. Like,
That's because
Yeah.
Hoa was
The
the narrator
implication
the
was
whole way through, and he
Yeah.
narrated her whole history to her. That's what I love the most about the ending, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Cole was
That's what I
saying
gathered
in the
from the
end,
part.
like, that the way you change someone into a Stone Eater will change how quickly they get their personality back.
Yes.
Like,
Maybe,
he said,
yeah.
if you do it the quick way, it can take a lot longer for them to become them, if ever.
Yeah.
Kind of like the
And he
Notebook.
said if you do it this other longer way, then it takes longer for you to become a Stone Eater, but then you are more likely to come back as yourself more quickly. Or at least that was the impression I got at the end. And if I'm wrong, I'm real sorry.
I think the thing is too is Antimony wasn't so interested in Alabaster being Alabaster.
No.
No.
Yeah.
And Hoa was probably the most human out of all of them. He'd been stuck in that stone for how long before?
He's a thinker that the other girls call him.
Yeah. And he'd been stuck at the bottom of the ocean for however long before, Esson pulled him up from the depths.
Was he in a garnet? Was he the garnet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that action of having been saved by Essen sort of helped his relationship with her as well be a bit more of a personal one rather than just I don't know what to call the relationship between Antimony and Alabaster. It's weird.
A relationship of
I'm going
convenience. That's not what I'm thinking of. Sorry.
Appetizer.
Yeah, I mean, I've given it 3 stars, which for me is I enjoyed the book. I probably won't reread it again, and it's probably not something I would recommend to someone unless they're already reading the series.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. I think the reason I give it 4 is because for me it's partially an extra star for being the conclusion to the series that I was enjoying.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in the same boat. I gave it 4 because it's not a 3 to me.
Yeah.
Because at the end of
Well,
this
the
series,
writing,
I really
the writing's 4 star in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when I was like, oh God, I'm a bit confused here. I wasn't going, it's confusing because the writing's bad. It was like, I'm just not smart. Sometimes there was such like the word, like I could on one level recognize the prose as being really well written, even though the whole overall story I was finding a little bit challenging, if that makes sense. Like if you were to pull it apart, it was almost poetic.
Yeah, I think that's why I gave it 5, because the writing style was consistent all the way through 3. Even though it changes the point of views, the narration style changes.
I like that though. It keeps it so fresh.
I like that it's a broken
broken
story, so that it's got the different timelines as well that explain each other, and so it spans over millennia. This story, and I liked that it was both sci-fi and fantasy in the end. So. But yes to all the same things that you guys are saying as well.
We all loved it. We're all a bit confused, and we all left feeling a little shook.
I think
pun intended.
I think part of the problem too is that there was really no way for this story to end in a way that made you feel super satisfied.
Whose lightsaber?
That was yours.
That would be mine. That's my phone.
Oh, was it?
I thought
That happened just as I was playing the Star Wars game.
I'm just gonna say, I thought it was
too
Matt
loud.
with that game that he plays.
I thought it was
that's
Chaz,
what
but
I
she's
thought
got
too,
R2D2.
and I'm playing it.
I got a new phone. I haven't got. No, it's a new phone because R2 died.
Oh no.
Not R2.
I know. I was absolutely sick of that ringtone. Notification tone. Oh my god. I couldn't get rid of it. It was just not Star Wars. Anyway.
Shall we talk about Father Earth?
Oh, yes.
What's his deal, man?
I think it's supposed to be like a Gaia type thing.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Celestial being, maybe? No.
Not so much the celestial being. Gaia is more about recognizing the earth as a living being, and usually that it has a consciousness behind it.
It made me
And
think of the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
What are you guys
What are you laughing at?
My cat, he just like flopped over onto his side and started kicking himself in the face.
What is your damage?
He was dropped on his head as a child, so he needs my fur baby.
How else is his
Fur baby's weird.
My
face?
My fur baby is demented, but that's fine.
I have 2 other cats, and neither of them feel the need to aggressively kangaroo kick
Oh
themselves in the
man,
head.
my cat used to do that. I had
Yeah,
a cat
mine
that
used
used
to
to do
do
that
that.
all the time. And I'd be like, doesn't that hurt? Like, you've got your claws out and everything. Must be a really bad itch on your face that you'd want to kick yourself so hard. Yeah, she used to do it all the time.
Mine doesn't move.
Trixie and Smoosh do not do that.
Smoosh is smoosh. He barely does anything, let's be honest.
Yep.
Hello, Doofus.
When we left this afternoon, she was lying on the sewing table all the time, Princess. And got home,
Hello,
she was in the
Doofus.
spot.
Hello,
What's
Doofus.
that? That
Oh,
you
he is alive. It's all right. He wasn't moving.
say that! Oh my
I
god!
was poking him and he wasn't doing anything.
Hello.
My mum's cat's been on that now, Jay. They're just gone. They're shitting, pissing everywhere.
Aww.
So skinny. They're just
Oh,
they're
we're getting off topic. So we keep on topic.
We are off topic.
Are there cats in this book?
No, there were no cats in this book. No cat.
So
Cat in
it was
this book needs
fantasy
to go.
and
It's probably good.
sci-fi. Can we talk
They probably
about
would've
the
eaten.
science?
Yes.
Love it.
So,
I would
like,
have really enjoyed learning more about the science, like the actual science, like what the engines were. Like, were they just working with magic, or were they mechanical engines that worked with magic? Like, we're about them, and I think that's really why I want, a book, just of just of that past era,
Instead of weaving it into this.
because I really want to know, like. They were talking about being on the moon, and I assume they mean that was like an area of the Earth that they call the moon.
No,
But
they actually
they,
went to the
could
moon.
very well have the
They were on the
technology.
moon.
They were on the moon, okay.
Mm.
Because I'm like, did you actually go to the moon? Like, do you have the power to just go to the moon really quickly and easily? Like,
Yeah.
I would have liked to know more about their
Vehicles that
science.
was-
And they drilled a hole from like all the way to the core of the Earth.
to the core of the Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
They took
Yeah,
And I think
samples.
if you understand how big, like if you've seen like any representations of how our deepest hole that we've ever actually dug is into the crust of the Earth, it's like
Not very far.
it's like nothing.
6 miles
And
or something? 6
Yeah,
miles?
about 8
Yeah.
kilometers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's
and
not,
I know you're
and it's
That core
and like you've
sample
seen
that they
models
took.
of the Earth, and it's hard to conceptualize actually what a distance that is. So like getting to the moon is easy compared to doing that.
So I know that other
dig
people.
through like the deepest. Oh, sorry, go.
I know that other people were at the end of the second book. Some of us were talking about how we wish that she hadn't introduced the concept of magic into it and had just kept it sci-fi.
Mm.
Does anyone else still feel like that?
Yes.
I like both.
Like
Why not both?
I like
Well, in some
I like the element of it, but not why. Don't label it magic. Don't label it.
I felt like
Yeah.
Let us get.
orogeny orogeny was already a form of magic anyway.
Mm.
And so it was just another form of magic on top of it. And I was like, what does this purpose serve? I do not understand.
Yeah.
It made me think about the line between magic and sci-fi and how many other books have that line. And well, there is no definite line. It's science is just magic explained and vice versa.
If I put it,
I think,
if I put it into simple terms, what it felt like was you were watching Star Wars and orogeny was the Force and magic was when they introduced midichlorians and you're like, what? Stop it.
Yeah.
I kept thinking of
Such a good
Kern.
analogy.
And how Pern, the dragons, you think dragons are magic, but really these dragons have evolved from lizards over time and have started fight, and how it's explained all scientifically as well.
No, they're not
But
evolved
still
from
magic.
No. In Pern, they're not evolved from dragons. In Pern, they've been genetically engineered from natural dragons. That little
And so
dragon.
have these people.
Sorry.
So have these people. The Stone Eaters were genetically engineered from the original people who they wiped out.
I see. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were comparing.
So, but the idea that it's magic until you can explain it, you know.
But that's the problem.
yeah.
They didn't explain it. Like, to me, I didn't feel like it was explained at all. It was just silver lines of magic sort of thing. But it was like they were trying to put some explanation behind it, the midichlorians, which...
I like the networking idea of it all. Like, they needed it to...
Well, I mean, I can see how...
Or just to connect, I suppose. But I don't know, was it charging and connecting at the same time?
Power.
I don't know.
Power.
How sleepy.
Like,
I've been reading for like 7 hours straight.
how you would go from like, I feel like, see, I felt like in book 2 that magic and silver were the same. Like, that was the same thing.
They are.
Yeah, but then what's like, then isn't that just the, like, you guys were saying that Nasun was using magic and the origami?
Origami, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that just using silver?
That's using
So,
magic is
both-
also
both of
she's
them
using
together.
silver and orogeny.
yeah.
I think when you tamper with
Yeah,
the
no, but I
silver,
thought-
that's the connection of the obelisk, isn't it? Like, it's amped you up. So you get the silver when you connect to the obelisk. And
Well, the
that's why
silver is
there's
part of
been
everything
lots of
that's
food
got
change.
magic, yes?
Yeah.
It's got orogeny.
It
Like,
was
anyone
like
that's got orogeny has silver in it. So
Silver
is
silver is
life.
orogeny, so which means that the silver is
impression
magic.
I got was
Which is orogeny
it
is
was a different
magic?
way. It was a different
But
way
that's
of looking at
tampering
orogeny
it.
that wasn't.
Okay, never mind. I'm just overcomplicating things. Never mind.
I understand
it is
coming from, though, it
complicated.
wasn't explained, really. It really wasn't
Yeah.
spelt out clearly, the differences between
well,
the two.
because they didn't
It was stated
understand
that
it
they
either.
were- yeah, it was stated that they were different. All I basically got was that there was the two. Orogeny was mostly what was used by the origins. Silver or / magic was something that had always been there, but they were only just sort of discovering. And it turned out that the originals had been using both together to do their tuning.
I think maybe if they had come up with a name other than magic, considering that the tuners were using it, like the tuners had been like genetically engineered and had like this really important job, and they're using something called magic to do
Yeah.
it. Like, why could you not?
I like
Like,
that they were
I
using
just-
the sound waves, like the
Come up with
vibrations.
this really technical term of orogeny, but you didn't come up with a name other than magic for the other thing that they're using.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, like if it had been called like orogeny and then there was like another word for the like life force that connects the earth and like all the people that are in the briar patch and like all that, because that's all silver.
Yeah.
But she just like the only way it's ever explained is either as silver or magic, but it feels like when you're using orogeny, you can see silver, like you can see how those connections happen, and that's why you can like stop earthquakes because you're using like
Not everyone can, though. Like, a lot of the origins don't sense silver at all.
Okay, it must just be that we were like in the head of Nasun and Essen for so long, who both seem to be able to like do that.
But even
Yeah, I assume that's a genetic thing.
Yeah, okay. I just assumed that they could all do that because it's like that, like the soothing of the earthquakes, which would be part of like using the earth, which is the silver.
No, the earth isn't this, like, so silver goes through
Living things.
but it's living things, but it's not actually like, it's not in the earth. It goes through the earth, but it's coming from the core, which is like the living part of earth, and all the other bits around it are just rock. And the magic, the silver sort of comes out and through the rock.
Yeah.
And then other living
Delightful.
things generate
That's
it
why
as
they
well.
wanted to siphon it from the center, because it was most powerful
Yeah.
from the center, and so they
And that's how they were making the obelisk.
power everything.
They were making.
it's not how they were making the obelisks, it's how they were imbuing the obelisks with power.
Okay. So they were getting the crystal and then they were like stuffing it full of power.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Father Earth
Yeah, that makes
subverted some of them by putting his, I'm still not 100% sure what it is, but he kind of like infected some of the crystals.
Yeah.
You know how they spoke about the spines in one of the sockets?
Yeah,
So
I assume
those
it
spines,
managed to get a little bit of the same stuff that was in the core stones.
that was really cool too, the core stone idea, and how the core stone, like, he gave up a piece of himself to them as a spy. And at the end, his plotting is so slow and his movements are so slow that that piece ends up being, you know, the piece that shatters and becomes the what is it, the Wardens?
Mm.
Yeah.
The Black
Oh, the
Coat,
Guardians.
Guardians.
Yeah.
What was that called? Oh,
That was
Black
cool.
Coats are what they control, aren't they?
And how it affected people differently. So it explained, like, the Earth doesn't look at people as individuals, but he did recognize the scale of some of the fault of the people, and so it punished them at different levels. So you had the Guardians and you had the Stone Eaters and you had people, and how it did all it. Yeah, it was just.
So when they turn to stone, is that him punishing them?
I kind of, well, I don't know if I'm just imagining it or not, but I kind of got the impression that that was actually like a side effect of what they were doing.
Yeah,
Like
I couldn't
they
figure
were
out
still,
why it was
you know,
happening.
I
But
think
if they're imbuing it with the life force from Father Earth,
yeah,
and then it's like a payment, you know, like a portion of
Punishment.
pound of flesh.
I think
Yeah.
Of flesh.
I think part of
Yeah.
the
That kind of, because she did say that. So
I think
yeah.
part of the problem we're getting with a lot of the backstory stuff that we were getting from Hoa's point of view is that Hoa's not a reliable narrator for the environment he was in. He didn't have all of the information. He didn't understand the machines. He just could work them. He didn't understand them. He didn't understand what Father Earth was doing and his choices. He understood some, but he didn't understand everything.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot of information we were probably not getting that we're looking for because Hoa just didn't have it.
And the Stone Eaters
and I understand
don't
that, like-
have that either. Like, they're emotionless and slow as well. So
Well, not just that,
a lot
but
of that character is missing. Sorry,
the
go
Stone
Naomi.
Eaters were the original, like, tuners, so they only have the information that those tuners have. It's not like they got extra information when they became Stone Eaters. Like, they're just...
So the
They
tuners
started
helped
moving-
guide the crystal, the life force in the crystal. Is that right? Is that what they were doing?
They were like the tools that we used to, like, basically power to guide the obelisk to get the power into the engines.
Yeah.
But I thought the obelisks were the engine. I'm confused.
No, there was the proton engine. It's something starting with P. I can't remember what it was.
The Plutonic.
Plutonic. Thank you.
Plutonic, that's it.
Something starting with P and proton is not right. And they were talking about how once that was sort of all set up, they wouldn't need the tuners anymore. So that's why they had decided to finish everything, because they were like,
they were like a starter motor, and then it became essentially self-sustaining. Well, that was the idea.
yeah.
They just had to set up the network and put it all in place and link it all together. And once the power was running through it, it was like it generated itself.
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like I want more backstory after this week.
Girls. Basically,
And then
because
Father
they
Earth
sort of saw the
woke
bright
up.
patch and then they were like,
Okay.
So this is what you do to us.
And then Father Earth woke up, and I was like, "Woo!"
but to be fair, it was never really the tuners, like, the tuners didn't choose, like, they chose to end everything, but they didn't choose to, like, destroy the Earth by using the core point stuff.
They were
that was all the other people.
I loved that,
Yes.
like the whole realization that, like, they'd been made, and they'd been made for a purpose, and this was their purpose, and that's all they knew, and then they learnt otherwise. And that realization is that flip of power as well. Like they realized they had power. They were the ones who were in control of it. You know, like that was, I loved that. I thought that was great.
Okay. I'm probably just up to that. I'm up to where am I up to?
I feel like Father Earth probably thinks that the tuners aren't innocent, because while they were definitely being used by the humans, I do feel like they didn't choose not to do it. They chose to manipulate what they were doing to their own ends instead. That wasn't for the benefit or to save Father Earth at all. So
no, that was to save
them.
Clemley. And while that was not necessarily making them bad, in Father Earth's mind, it wasn't helping him. It wasn't stopping what was going on. So while I don't necessarily think that they deserve to be turned into stone eaters, they certainly were not innocent in the circumstances of what was going on. They were just, unfortunately, caught in a very difficult situation.
I think they were innocent enough in the way that they didn't have all the information to make an educated decision. Like, they were adults
either, though.
But the humans at least had enough information to know that they were like just using these people that they had created.
But Father Earth didn't care about that. Father Earth didn't care about how they'd been. All he cared about was the fact that they'd messed with him. He didn't care about what they'd done to other humans or what they'd been done to them or anything along those lines. Humans didn't matter to him. What he cared about was that he'd been messed with.
Yeah.
But to begin with, the tuners didn't mess with him. The humans did by taking a big chunk of his core.
Well, none of them knew he
doesn't
was
see
there.
the difference between them, though.
None of them believed in a Father Earth. It's like us having this discussion a whole book ago, and we were like, is there a Father Earth? Isn't there a Father Earth? Remember that conversation?
Yep.
Yeah.
We had that conversation as well. We didn't believe he was there, and we were told he was there. And these guys just had no freaking idea whatsoever what they were doing. They thought the power was there. It was there to use, period, end of story. Like, and then suddenly to find out that power was actually already in use by a being who was a hell of a lot more powerful than everyone had any idea. Like, that flipped the power structure over again, which, like, blew my mind, you know?
So who knocked the moon away? I guess
it happened as part of the process. Yeah, it happened as part of the process of what they were trying to do to change. And
that started the season.
No,
Father Earth started the seasons.
Seasons started 100 years later. It wasn't the moon. I think was why Father Earth stayed angry.
Getting angry.
Yeah, but he started the seasons 100 years later.
But
they
having
put
the
a hold
moon
on
under
that,
weird.
didn't they?
Hey.
I thought that would be cool. Like that's what I was under the impression. Like the moon was taken away. The moon and the Earth needed each other. I thought the moon was going to be something like Father Earth.
The network was set up around the Earth, and when Father Earth woke up, Hoa realized that Father Earth had taken control of some of the crystals, some of the network, and he was going to suck it back into the Earth and shatter the Earth completely. And to put a stop to that, he actually, like, the way I understood it was he almost put a virus into the system of the network and subverted his hold on it for 100 years. So after 100 years, Father Earth was able to suck those crystals in and shatter the Earth. But in the meantime, to do that, he'd had to blow the moon out of orbit. So
and that gave him 100 years to get ready, kind of thing, and go like, shit's going to get bad in 100 years. So start learning how to put things away, and so
So they were able to find more,
to give humanity a chance to survive in whatever form that it survived in.
I'll have to keep reading.
There's one of the little bits at the end of the chapter where it's written by one of those, the innovator guy. And there's a bit there where he talks about how the seasons aren't as far apart or as irregularly apart as history books are claiming. It's more like 30 to 40 years. And so the first season was when the Earth decided to like crack it open and fuck you human type thing. But then the subsequent seasons, I get the gist that was as the moon was on this like really long orbit. Every time it came around, that like exacerbated it and caused different things to happen, and then it goes away and comes back again.
That was what I thought too. I thought it was a scientific thing. I didn't think it was Father Earth is making the seasons because he's pissed. I thought it was actually a scientific thing of like what would actually. I don't know the science enough, but
I don't
surely
think
it would fuck with our planet if the moon was gone and if the moon came past us really close.
I don't think it was said clearly in the end as to what was causing the ongoing seasons. Like my impression initially was definitely that it was going to be tied to the moon and that it was a scientific reason sort of thing. But then you're sort of left at the end of this feeling like that it actually comes from Father Earth. And so I don't feel like it was really answered clearly after the initial breaking as to who was really causing it to happen. What was causing it really to happen.
Nice. I was kind of looking forward to it being like that because it would make sense with if she did do it that way because the moon, you know, alters our
absolutely
seas, our oceans, you know, and like the sun and earth like is perfect. Any closer we burn up, and you know, further away we'd be frozen to death. So, but I don't know.
I loved the description of the moon coming back and actually having essentially a tail like a comet because it had been so far out that it had actually gathered ice and everything. I was like,
you
whoa!
can see through it. There's a big gaping hole in it. How weird.
Nothing else. She's left me with
I didn't pick up on that. I must have missed that bit because I didn't remember that bit.
Which bit?
The whole part.
Oh yeah, like it looked like it had like a pupil.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually that does ring a bell now.
Yeah, and as soon as
the lodestone was in it.
Possibly being able to see the stars through it, she felt like she could.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd forgotten all about that.
Great.
So one advantage of basically reading half the book today, a lot of it's very clear in my head.
Yeah. I had 20% yesterday and
mine was a long time ago. I've read quite a few books since that one.
I read my book for next month or next week or whatever.
Yeah, I've read that too.
Me too.
I read that. I got that first. My library had it. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I'll read that. I'll wait till I can get my hands on.
I've got my copy waiting for me upstairs from the library. So my library had like 4 copies of that book.
I thought when we rearranged we put that one first, so I started reading that one.
Whoops. Sorry.
I just forget everything.
No, we've just got a very short period of time until that one, basically. We've got 2 weeks.
I will be super impressed if I
you
manage
extended things as well. I still finish. It's awful.
Sorry, I missed that, Karina.
Yeah, I missed everything.
I will be super impressed if I manage to read it because my reports are due 2 days before.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Well, it is a quick, easy read, but yeah, report cards.
It's fast read, yeah. I found out.
I rolled my eyes through a lot of it.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Read. Yeah.
We'll talk later. Other books are better.
Oh dear.
So I highlighted a couple of bits. Nasun frowns. What's genocide? He smiles again, but it is sad. If every origin is hunted down and slain, and if the neck of every origin infant born thereafter is wrung, and if everyone like me who carries the trait is killed or effectively sterilized, and if even the notion of origins are that origins are human is denied, that would be genocide. Killing a people down to the very idea of them as a people. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think the thing is though, it's the other way around though. They kill the idea of them as a people before they actually kill them, and that's how they get away with it. Like you look at genocides that have happened in real life. They always start by saying they're not really the same as the rest of us. They're not really human.
and
This
this is our
obligation.
excuse for killing them all. You know,
Justification.
yeah. And that's what, and they do that first. They break down their humanity and people's opinions before they start actually killing people, and that's why people stand by and let it happen. You know,
That's exactly what she describes in the book, though. I can't remember the name of those people, but it's something starting with an N. But yeah,
Especially because they were actually quite powerful, those people. So
that's right.
they had to convince those people themselves that they weren't people, that they were tools, because those people had the power, and if they ever realised that they had the power, it
We're
was
fucked.
yeah, which is exactly what happened, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And there's a part where they were going into the town and they sort of were starting to realise how much people hated them.
And this happened all the way through as well. So it happened with the Stone Eaters, or the whoever they were before they became Stone Eaters. And then it happened with the Origins as well. So the Origins are the ones who stop the Shakes. It's the same thing. They dehumanize them, downtrodden these people, so that they wouldn't realize that they were powerful. You know, and then Father Earth came along and just shattered all of that. It was, the whole exchange of power and who's in power and how they do it and how it reflects life, like our lives. Like this is how it works. This is how societies and humanity works.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
It's usually Mother Earth, though, isn't it? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. An interesting choice is to make it Father Earth and not Mother Earth. Not
Mother
sexy, but I wanted it to be Mother Earth.
I felt like it was possibly a choice because she did have quite a few very strong female characters, and she wanted to balance it a little bit more. Because, like, even Tonki was trans, and most of the characters with leadership roles and things like that, especially in where they ended up, tended to be female.
I liked the way they handled the thing with Tonki too, actually. I'm doing it again. I'm doing it as well. I like the way she handled it. And Kate Jemison. I mean, like, she kind of, in the first book, pointed out that she was trans, and then it wasn't ever mentioned again. It wasn't, you know, it was like, okay, this is the thing about this character, and okay, let's move on. And that was it, you know, like.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked that they didn't make it a plot point, if that's.
No, it was just a thing. There it is. That done. It doesn't matter.
You know, like you're describing somebody's hair color or describing like somebody's skin color or whatever. You're telling this information so you understand a bit more about who this character is and what they look like. But it's not something that's what the story's all about. I liked that.
I also like the fact that really there was a lot of representation of a lot of different things within the book.
Yeah.
I like that it makes me think still.
Yeah, I'm still, I would read the whole series again, the book series again, because I feel like, you know, when you read it a second time, you're going to understand it more. You're going to be prepared. You're going to take in more information. And there's a lot of information. There is a lot. I do feel like that. But then I also go, I do have time to reread 3 books.
Yeah, my to-read pile is so big. I don't really have time to reread books at the moment. Like back when I had time to just sit and read all the time, like I reread Harry Potter so much. Like it was my security blanket, either that or Handmaid's Tale. I've reread that book a lot.
I wanted to do the Crucial Start reread that they did recently, but I didn't have time.
See, I don't have time to reread anymore. I don't think I've reread much since Goodreads. I don't think it's actually that I have less time, because I do have less time, but you know, I could choose to use the reading time that I have to reread, and I don't. And the reason is because now I have such a long to-read list, and I didn't always have that. Like before Goodreads,
I quite often would be like, I don't know what to read next. I'll just reread something I already know I love. And because I didn't have those recommendations and I didn't know what to pick, I actually, like, I think it's changed how much
It
I
probably-
actually...
And now there's this annoying
I was
book
gonna
club
say-
that makes us read stuff as well.
Yeah, I was just
Jeez.
going to say, we've also got this book club that makes us read a book a month and then a comic a month and making us watch shit once a month too.
Well,
And I'm so cool.
Sometimes
And then talk to people.
hard enough to catch up with all of that because it is like, yeah, that's true. But I've been getting through more lately because I've been doing audiobooks on the way to work and being able to do an audiobook and a reading book, like it's making a difference. Like I'm finding I'm actually getting to read some of my stuff that's on my own to-read list rather than just the club stuff.
Well, this month's book is actually a book that I have wanted to read. Like Court of Thorn and Roses has been a book on my to-read list for a while now.
I really hope I get to read
same. Because I read, I think I've only read the first 3 of the other series. I'm meaning to get to the. Is there only 4?
We're up to book 5.
There's 5.
Oh.
3.
Okay.
I haven't read.
Well, I've only read
No, there's
3.
5 books altogether.
There's 5 books on the floor.
We've got stuff on the witch stuff that we don't.
But there's a
Yeah.
prequel,
Yeah.
Assassin's Blade. I haven't read
Right.
that. So there's technically 10.
Are we talking about the other series?
Yeah,
I did
so
the
I've
dumb
read
thing
3.
and read the dust jacket.
Yeah, don't read the Dust Jacket if you don't want to be spoiled.
Oh,
For
right,
Assassin's
yeah.
Blade.
Yeah, for Assassin's Blade, don't read the Dust Jacket if you don't want to be spoiled for the books.
Prequel.
Sorry, what am I not reading the Dust Jacket of?
Assassin's Blade, it's the prequel to the Glass Throne series.
Oh, okay. Also by Sarah J. Maas.
Which
who
is Yeah, it's the other series that, like the other big series that she's done.
Yeah. Court of Thorn and Roses.
Guys, I have done Secret Santas. All we got to do is send the names to people.
Yay.
Are we?
Although I feel
are
like we are the most off topic ever, and we could
I was
probably
just
go
going to
off
say
live.
that.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
to
we
say
are.
Are we?
Are we wrapping it?
So, unless anyone has anything else to say about the book.
I had one more snippet. I won't read it all out because it's quite chunky, but it was the change in narration style. And I know that's what pulled me into book 1, like the narration style and the different points of views. And I liked how it carried over. And I think that's kind of why the prequel chapters were in there as well, because it was Hoa trying to explain things and then like Hoa narrating things, and that's where the points of views came. I just really enjoyed it. Good writing style. Fantastic. I liked it.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Whose pick was it?
I think it was
I
everyone.
picked the first book at the start of the year.
And then from there, everybody
just
liked it so
decided to
much.
continue.
Yeah,
We
nice
went
work.
a lot. Yay, Karina.
I like this way of doing a series read too, of going, hey, we picked a book and we all liked it. Let's do a
Yeah.
series read. Like, rather than trying to pick a series and then going, oh God, we picked this series and we didn't really like the first book that much.
You've done a few of those.
Yeah, I think we got
Like
really
a long,
lucky with Miss Dawn, and then after that, ugh.
long Drive, Angry Planet. What's it called?
Yeah, well,
Oh, yeah.
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 What's the second one like? Should I read it? Is it good?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but I still really, really liked it. Like, I
The
think I
first
gave
one
it
was a little. To me,
I liked the first one.
I think I already have the first one.
I
read
loved
it.
them both. They were probably like 2 of my favourite reads of the year, those maybe changes.
Anyway, we should probably go off live because I'm
Yeah.
sure
Yep.
no one is riveted about our talking about 10 million other books. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with us. We will see you next time and have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.